Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to a very special feature for Hooked on Wrestling's Monday Nitro week. My name is the Twisted Genius Dean Ayass, and today I'm very pleased to say that I have got myself a very special guest, a man who competed in WCW in the Nitro era. He was a manager, an on-screen presence for all those years. I'm very pleased to say welcome to Sonny Onoo. Sonny, you there?
Right here.
Hello there. How are you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, very good indeed. It looks like you got nicer weather than us here in England. Uh, I believe you said you're in Iowa these days.
Yes, I am. I have always been in Iowa.
Oh, okay.
Is it always rainy and foggy in England?
We get a couple of days of sunshine a year and we all go crazy, but they've come and gone, you know. So yeah, we are on Hooked on Wrestling and my podcast because WCW. We are celebrating Monday Nitro week. For those of you who don't know, it's 25 years coming up very shortly. September the 4th, 1995 was the very first ever episode of Monday Nitro, and you were part of many an episode. Start off with though, for those who don't know, how did you get started in WCW? Because originally you were in the martial arts world, is that right?
Yeah, well, that's basically how I got in. Eric Bischoff and I are teammate. We used to travel around the United States as a young man in our 20s. We used to go to all various tournaments all over the countries. You know, United States is big enough so we can drive everywhere. So we used to go. He was up in Minneapolis, which is about 100 miles north of where I am now. And we would get together, and we had no money, so we would get together and jump in a van and drive to Chicago, Illinois, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Dallas, Texas. And we would go to tournaments, and going to a karate tournament was the way that we could actually test our skills, fight a bunch of guys during a day, and not go to jail, and party with young ladies at night. That was our thing. So what every 20-year-old wanted to do back in the days, and that's how Eric and I became friends. And uh, we I created this little game called Ninja Star Wars. It was a little low tech Velcro throwing stars, ninja stars, that I created a little game, and Eric encouraged me to get it produced, and which I did. And he went on. He says, "Hey, Sonny, we got to get this on television." So what he did was he approached AWA, which was based out of Minneapolis, Vern Gagne's um,
Yep.
uh, uh, group, and they had a national television syndicated TV show, but they would give them, instead of paying them for the show back in the days, they would give them commercial spot that they could go out and sell. And we made a deal with them that we could put our game on a national television to sell these game on a professional wrestling show. And, we didn't make a lot of money, but we learned a lot, and that's how Eric got into the wrestling business. And they said, "Man, you're a good looking kid, and you could talk, and you're a great salesman. Why don't you come and work for us?" And that's how Eric got into wrestling business. So
Oh, okay.
those are the guys who love Eric and thank me, and those who hate Eric, they can blame me for Eric Bischoff being in the wrestling business.
So you're either to
And
credit or to blame, depending on your point of view, I guess.
right. And in essence, when he was trying to repair the business with New Japan, he asked me to come in and try to help the New Japan business that was I was in trouble. So we flew to Japan. He said, "Hey, you want to go to Japan with me?" And I went. And next thing I was a person in charge of facilitating business with New Japan and WCW. And that's how I got. I was behind the scene first.
Yeah.
And when those big stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Masa Saito, Great Muta, Chono, Jushin Thunder Liger, Kanemoto, Otani, Tenzan, all those guys, um, started coming over to WCW. Well, they needed a mouthpiece, a manager. So I became on camera a talent as well. And that's how I got into wrestling business.
Okay, so we'll talk about your role both behind the scenes and in front of the camera in a moment. I think your video is frozen, but we can still hear you fine. So we'll
Okay.
carry on. Don't worry. But professional wrestling is a business like no other, shall we say? It's
Yeah.
totally unique. How hard was it, or how did you find it making that transition from martial arts to pro wrestling?
Well, I by then, I was older than most of the guys. I mean, getting into business, so I mean, I already had my own business. I had a martial arts school. I owned a health club, and I had my car business. So as far as business goes, I was doing a liaison officers between New Japan and WCW. So that was business itself was pretty easy when it comes to that. And of course, we worked with people like Masa Saito and Brad Riggins, who was working for New Japan at the time. So, and we were working with friends. So everything was pretty smooth, pretty easy, as far as my end of the work was. So, it was very enjoyable, really. Far as it wasn't that hard. They would call me, and either they wanted a merchandise, WCW merchandise, or they wanted to book a WCW talent for New Japan shows, or vice versa. We wanted to use their talent, and it wasn't that hard. And one of the greatest things came out of that program was that Eddie Guerrero, when we started the Nitro, that we needed more talent, so we get to use people like Jushin Thunder Liger,
Mhm.
Great Muta. So it actually worked out really well because we can highlight New Japan talent on American television. So that was mutually beneficial, and we get to use the international superstars. So and out of that, guys like Eddie Guerrero's and Dean Malenko's, you know, Ultimo Dragons, Chris Jericho, all those guys that was great cruiserweight came and signed with WCW.
Yeah, I mean that was around the time that Dragon had the J Crown, the 8 different junior heavyweight belts, wasn't it?
Actually, it was 10 belts,
10 belts. I beg your
10
pardon.
belts. And he is the only person, because of, conflict between WWF and WCW, he was the only person to actually own WCW and WWF belt at the same time.
Of course, yeah, the old WWF junior heavyweight belt. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Excellent. So I mean, so yeah, so your role behind the scenes was liaison between the two camps. I presume bridging the language barrier as well at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly helpful that I was born in Japan, so my Japanese are certainly helpful, and more than anything else, culturally,
Mm.
there was a lot of cultural mistake that was made, because doing business. I don't know if you've done business in Japan, but in Asia in general, but especially in Japan, they're not, way they do business is it's in relationship. It's not just something is better or cheaper, beneficial to you. You make that choice. Over there, they make choice. One of the important part of their choice is who you're doing the business with. It's not about what benefits me, what benefits us in general. If it's not about just money either.
Yeah.
Or just business. So that plays a big part. But it's doing business with people you like. You know, Many international business have a issue with that. The guy can't believe why that Japanese car maker don't use GE headlights. You know, it doesn't matter if the GE headlights are better, cheaper, brighter. You know, that
Yeah.
makes none of those makes any difference, because relationship back, just like where you guys used to do in the feudal days in England, you know, between when you guys were fighting France and Spain, you guys would marry off your children as kind of like a,
Mm.
hostages, as they say, and that's what Japanese did in their feudal days.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you don't attack me because my kid is married to your kid. That
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that actually that plays into a lot of the big business. Japan is controlled by basically three companies: Mitsubishi, Mitsui, and Sumitomo. And those families still control Japan to this day. And
Right.
they're the heavy industry, and they're shipbuilders, and all those things, along with everything from cars to Japanese don't do things on their own. When they shoot a rocket, a satellite up there, it's usually by those three families that I just mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't want to fail on their own. If I fail, you fail with me. We
Yeah.
succeed, we all succeed. That's their mentality. So
I'm with you. Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's very interesting.
cultural
So
lesson.
thank you very much. Yeah. So how did you transition from being a behind the scenes liaison between these two companies into being the grinning suited heel manager Sonny Onoo that we all remember?
Well, that character was developed. You got to remember at that period in time, the Japanese. This was before the bubble, so that the Japanese had a lot of cash, and they were buying off golf courses and hotels in the United States because they were flush with cash. So what really happened was that I played on that character. Wealthy Japanese businessman who wanted to come in and buy everything and control everything. So that was my character, and that character was developed by guys like Masa Saito, a guy like Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart, the great managers. They're the one who helped me put together that character, and about 75% of that is what I would like to be in real life. So it wasn't that hard, and we had a lot of fun doing it, um, and it wasn't that hard at all because I have done martial art movies and stuff like that in Hong Kong and Canada. So as far as acting goes, or a little bit of acting you play, certainly when you're playing, egomaniac part of yourself is not that hard to play.
I know the feeling well from my own experiences as a manager. Absolutely, it is you with the volume turned up, is in some degrees, definitely. So,
Right.
I mean, you became an on-screen manager at a time in wrestling when managers would largely being phased out in a lot of other promotions.
Yeah.
Did you find that let's start with the American wrestlers first of all. Did you find American wrestlers like happy to work with a manager in their matches?
Well, every person I managed was requested by them. So, it wasn't requested by the bookers. Of course, Japanese was mainly because so they can they needed a mouthpiece, you
Hmm.
know. So that was no brainer. But far as a guy like Ernest Miller, or some of the luchador I managed, that luchador became, because once again they didn't speak English,
Yeah,
and they wanted to put luchador more into the main stay of the storyline, which I could do. Put him in a storyline. So that worked out really well. And uh, Ernest, another martial art guy who
yeah.
wanted to be involved. Uh, uh, that's my puppy's going. My French bulldog is going off over there. It really wasn't hard at all. It was rather easy.
And for the Japanese wrestlers, 'cause I mean, in Japanese wrestling, they have more people as seconds than managers. Did they find it easy to adapt to the American style with the American style heel manager there?
Yeah, I don't think they had any issue with it. They were in ring character, and they basically understand what we were doing. I was always bragging about how superior Japanese wrestlers were. Culturally, your country only been around for a couple of years. What do you think? Just because you got a big ship and a gun doesn't make you guys any smarter than any of us. That kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
it's really, really, as a heel manager, it's really easy to insult the United States.
Guaranteed to get a reaction.
No.
Absolutely. So we're talking this week about the 25th anniversary of the first ever episode of Monday Nitro, which is coming up this week. What was the reaction like within WCW when it was announced that Monday Nitro was going to go head to head with Monday Night Raw? Did everyone think that someone in WCW was crazy, or was everyone up for the fight?
Well, no, I think it worked out really well. I mean, that period of time from 94 to 2000, I don't think anybody can really dispute the fact that it was probably the best time for wrestling for the talent, best time wrestling for the fan, and the product, you can't, because of competition, product was better. And we had nothing to lose. We were way down in second place, so as far as that goes, really easy. I mean, and when we start catching up to him and start beating him for, as Eric Bischoff's 83 weeks,
yeah,
it was no brainer. We were having fun, and I am blessed that I was involved in that period of time. Got to play my little part with the international talent, and it was just great fun time.
Who would you say were your favorite wrestlers to work with, either as a client on your side or as an opponent?
Well, I had a lot of fun with Ernest Miller. That was the first American wrestler that I managed. But probably the most success we had was Ultimo Dragon. That we had. Ultimo Dragon was great. And amazing part is he's still at it. He's still wrestling. Yeah.
I mean, how he must be. What, is he in his 50s now, or
50s? Yeah.
Yeah, and still going.
I think his birthday, if I'm right, he's born in '66. So yeah.
Cool. Well, and what about, as you mentioned about Ernest Miller there? What about opponents to work against? Who do you have particular fond memories of working against?
Well, we got to work with, just because we were on I was almost on every Nitro, and working with guys like Rey Mysterio was fun. But one of the most fun we ever had working, it was working with when I had the ladies here, against Medusa. Akira Hokuto, who's, even to this day, she is still the women champion of WCW, and she still has the belt, by the way. And,
wow.
Yeah, and I was last November, actually, on the Fuji Television, which is the biggest TV network in Japan. I went over there and did a special about her belt. She didn't know what to do with the belt, and so we did a special. Actually flew to Japan and did a segment of that. So that was fun. But working with Medusa was a blast. Because Medusa is so talented, and she actually trained in Japan with All Japan Women Group. So, and mind you, those girls in Japan, even to this day, they're so stiff. So, I believe that they're better wrestler than, so many, no disrespect to male wrestlers, but so many people out there, they, just because they have the underdog kind of attitude. So I think they put out better product when they wrestle. Women out there, they feel like, I feel like they got something to prove every time they go out there.
Yeah.
And I'm working right now on a Fite TV, which is the a platform with a lot of independent professional wrestling and international professional wrestling. We're bringing over crazy DDT wrestling from Japan, and they are really out there. Some of this stuff they do.
Oh yeah.
And they have a company called Tokyo Joshi, has the largest group of women wrestlers under their roster, and we work with them. We did a pay-per-view a month ago, and we'll be doing another one. Hopefully, we'll be doing monthly show with them. And on September the 22nd, we will be doing a live show out of Tokyo of Pro Wrestling Noah.
Oh, okay.
Cyberfight is a parent company that owns all three companies that I just mentioned: Noah, DDT, and Tokyo Joshi. And I'm doing color commentary in English of all those shows, along with my fellow play-by-play guy, Rob Hockman. Um, he is the former writer for WCW and former writer for WWE. So,
Okay.
he's only have a history of about 20 some years. And he was a broadcaster for New York Giants as well, a football team. So, we've been at it, and some of the stuff that you don't get to see in the United States. What's nice about Fite TV is it's you can watch it on your phone and you can watch it on the smart TV, and you get to watch it live, or you can watch it later,
Yeah.
whenever you want on demand. So it's a pretty good deal that you can just jump in, watch it whenever you want, pause it, watch it again later, or watch it again tomorrow. So I love the platform. I love the technology because I can do the play-by-play right here at my home, just like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And we can call it right from here, and I don't have to do 14-hour plane ride one way to get there and do that. So works out really well for us.
Excellent. Excellent. That's good. Great to hear you're still involved in the business as well, because that was going to be one of my other questions, but you've answered it already. One thing on my podcast, Because WCW, where we watch back over old WCW shows.
Sure.
Sometimes we've noticed that I think because the fans may not be familiar with some of the Japanese wrestlers, that they didn't necessarily react as well or as enthusiastically as we'd have hoped. And I guess that was why you were put in there, to be a constant presence that they could be familiar with. Did you find that from your position at ringside that sometimes they didn't react as much as you'd have liked, or were you happy with things?
No, I think 90% of the time. I really believe, um, as you can see, was a popular demand for New Japan Pro Wrestling, or Japanese wrestling is in general. You know, Japanese style, what they call it, a strong style, is a little bit more.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. I'm back.
you're back. Sorry, you're saying Japanese wrestling is strong style.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more stiffer. They do a little bit more mat wrestling, a little bit more catch wrestling, uh, uh, cruiserweight. They'll do more of um, what they call the high flying stuff, which is a hybrid with some of the luchadors. Because Ultimo Dragon, of course, trained in Japan, but he was also really became Ultimo Dragon out of Mexico.
Yeah.
So he'll do the high flying stuff, And who originated that originally and made that really famous? Of course, the original Tiger Mask, Mr. Sayama, which I met with a few months ago. He's not in good health, but I wanted to see him, and he gave me one of his masks and signed it for me. So um, that was quite. I also met with, last time I was there, I met with Mr. Inoki as well. But those kind of things I got to do because of my involvement. So, but far as to answer your question about reaction, it was pretty easy for me because we were heels. It didn't matter, how popular Great Muta was. He's just a natural heel. We were coming from different country, just like, of course, Lord Steven Regal that we
Yeah.
had. I mean, pompous Englishman, and that's what he played. And we're just natural. We're a natural heel anyway, so it just makes things that much easier for us. And I think with people like Masa Saito, who was really famous in the United States, and people like Great Muta and Chono, and and he blew up once they became they double crossed me and went back, took that NWO Japan angle back to Japan. That thing blew up over there.
Yeah.
And they told me, I went to Masa Memorial event in Osaka last year with Eric Bischoff, and one of their executives from New Japan told us that they sold $7 million worth of NWO T-shirt in 1990.
Wow. $7 million.
$7 million of
Wow.
T-shirt. Think about that. They were selling T-shirt for $35 a pop. So
Yeah. Do the maths. Yeah. Wow. What would you say, Sonny, was your favorite moment in WCW that you were personally involved in?
well, there's so many moments that we had. Sturgis with Bo Nakano. I rode it in a Honda motorcycle. Imagine that in Sturgis with all the Honda on. Medusa took a slash hammer to my Honda. That was fun. Of course, Ultimo Dragon winning WCW belt. And the World War III pay-per-view with WCW versus New Japan. That was one of the first time I made, my appearance as the Sonny Onoo, the evil Japanese manager. That was a lot of fun. So there's so many stuff that we got to do. That was just so much. When you're playing a character, basically, super ego of yourself. It's a lot of fun. You get to do that and get paid. There's nothing like it.
Very therapeutic, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, you said you played manager.
Absolutely. Yeah. For many years in
So
the
you know
UK.
exactly what I'm talking about.
I do indeed, very much so. Yes. One final question for you, Sonny. If you could go back in time and change one thing about your time in WCW, what would it be?
Really, I mean, that's a great question, and I'm trying to think, but we wish the only thing I would have done is it would have been more fun to do few more things with New Japan. Of course, like I said, I got to go. I got to go to North Korea with
Yes.
Muhammad Ali, and so far as that goes, I wish I would have got to do more show in Japan, because like I said, Japanese, I mean, it's kind of, it makes sense for me because they don't need a mouthpiece in Japan. So, I didn't work to Japan. I only did one tour over there being a manager, playing that character. But other than that, I wish I could have done more in Japan as playing that, managing those guys, but it wasn't necessary,
Yeah.
So other than that, man, I mean, I have no regrets, really. I really don't. And independent scenes is so popular right now. Of course, the COVID thing kind of puts a kibosh on everything else.
Yeah.
But looking forward to it. I still do, like I told you with the Fite TV. I'm bringing all this. Pro Wrestling Noah is their matches and stuff like that. Is no different. And some of the character and matches and season pro they have, and if you, maybe you can tell your audience later on how Pro Wrestling Noah came off from All Japan.
Yeah, from Misawa, yeah.
And their wrestling quality wise is they don't take second seat to New Japan at all. So being able to bring that to the United States and the rest of the world, because on a Fite TV, as long as you have the app, you can watch it anywhere in the world. And I'm really happy that I'm part of that to bring, those event product from Cyberfight, which is the parent company, bringing that, and they're talking about doing tour of the United States. They're talking about doing tour of Europe. So, I'm going to be involved helping them put together some of those tours. So, you know, I might be seeing you in person in England.
That would be wonderful. I mean, yeah, Pro Wrestling Now has got a great history here in the UK. We've one of our greatest ambassadors and a friend of Hooked on Wrestling, Doug Williams, was a tag team champion over there, and he brought over several Japanese visitors for tours of the UK. Off the top of my head, I can think of Mohamed Yone and Takeshi Morishima, Segura, people like that who all came over from Noah. So and we've had recently Chris Ridgway going over there and being successful. So yeah, there's a great relationship and a great history between Pro Wrestling Noah and the United Kingdom. Not to mention, of course, Mr. Sayama, who you talked about, who was very famous in the UK in the early 80s as Sammy Lee before he went back to Japan and became Tiger Mask and Black Tiger, Mark Rocco, who obviously passed away just recently. Well, Sonny, thank you so much for your time. With a bit of luck, once the world gets back to some semblance of normality, we may very well see you over here in the UK with Pro Wrestling Now and Fite TV. If people want to get hold of you or see you on social media, how can they find you?
Sonny Onoo on Facebook. I'm there most of the time. I have a Twitter and other accounts, but Facebook is probably the easiest. They can message me. And I work with a company called Lucha Otaku out of LA, which is a production company. They're the one we'll be doing on a Fite TV. We're starting weekly, free to anybody who wants to sign in, get an app, and you can watch.
Oh, I think we've lost him again there. Apologies, folks, for the
Japan.
Oh, there we go.
What's going to be coming up from Japan? A lot of that, and along with what's on Fite TV. So you'll be seeing me around a little bit more often.
Great stuff. Sonny, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks, fans, for tuning in. That was Sonny Onoo from WCW. Well, great stories there.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
having
much.
me, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Arigato. Thank you very much.